The champagne glass didn't shatter first. My illusion did. I'm pregnant. The music stopped. 100 members of the Italian underworld turned to look at me. And the man who once swore he would burn cities for me laughed. That baby is not mine. A cold, precise laugh that cut deeper than any blade. The room didn't gasp. It approved. Because when a king denies you in public, you are already erased. 3 months ago, he used to press his hand against my stomach and whisper about legacy. Tonight, he looked at me like I was a stain on his empire. Standing beside him was his fiancée, the senator's perfect daughter. The alliance I was never meant to compete with. "She's trying to trap you," the woman said sweetly, as if I hadn't shared his bed, as if I wasn't carrying his blood. Then he said the words that changed everything. "Take her out. Not escort her. Not protect her. Take her out." The guards grabbed my arms. And as they dragged me through the mansion doors, my baby kicked for the first time. Almost like he knew. Almost like he felt his father's rejection. But what Alessandro De Luca didn't know was that I had already taken a DNA test. And the results didn't just confirm paternity. They confirmed something far more dangerous. My child wasn't just his son. He was his superior heir. And in the mafia world, blood outranks power. Always. 3 weeks before the rejection, I had already sensed something was wrong. Alessandro had grown distant. His phone calls turned secretive. His mother's glances sharpened. Rumors about a political alliance with the senator's daughter floated through the mansion like smoke. I didn't trust anyone, not even him. So I did something dangerous. I took a DNA test. Not because I doubted him, but because I couldn't trust the world around him. The results came back sealed in gold-lined paper, the De Luca crest embossed on the front. I opened it alone. My hands trembled. Paternity, 99.99% confirmed. But there was a second line. Lineage confirmation, matched. Not just his son. His direct blood successor. Which meant something ancient, something written into Mafia law generations ago, had just been activated. If I disappeared, if the baby vanished, the problem would solve itself. That night, pressed against the cold apartment wall, I whispered, "They think we're weak, but weakness is no longer an option." Because I wasn't just protecting a baby. I was protecting a throne. They came on the 4th night. 2 black SUVs. No license plates. Professional. Silent. I was staying in a cheap apartment far from the De Luca territory. But word had spread. If I carried his heir, I was leverage. The door exploded inward at 2:13 a.m. I didn't scream. I ran. Gunshots ripped through drywall as I dove behind the kitchen counter. One bullet grazed my arm. Pain flared hot and blinding. Then, silence. Heavy boots echoed through the hallway. A voice I hadn't heard in years spoke calmly, "Lower your weapons." I looked up slowly. My breath caught. Matteo Romano. Alessandro's oldest rival. The only man powerful enough to challenge the De Lucas. "You look terrible," he said, stepping over broken wood. "I'm pregnant," I whispered. "I'm aware," he replied. His eyes dropped to my stomach. "Do you know what your child represents?" "Yes," I said. "A war." He offered his hand. "Come with me. Not because I care about you, but because your son is the most valuable asset in this country." I hesitated. Trusting a rival mafia boss wasn't survival. It was strategy. But staying alone meant certain death. So I took his hand and stepped into the enemy's protection. The De Luca Council demanded proof. Rumors were spreading. Alessandro's fiancée insisted the pregnancy was a lie. A formal session was called under mafia law. Lineage disputes required confirmation before the elders. Alessandro arrived, calm, thinking I had fled. He believed I was powerless. He believed he had already won. Until the council elder read aloud. Lineage confirmed under primary code. Child qualifies as dominant successor. The room went silent. Alessandro's knuckles tightened. Dominant successor. His authority was now conditional. Then the final dagger. Mother currently under protection of the Romano family. Gasps erupted. Matteo hadn't just protected me, He had weaponized me. Alessandro's empire shifted. Publicly. Irreversibly. The underworld fractured overnight. Half the family supported Alessandro. The other half saw opportunity. Isabella De Luca tried damage control. Assassins were dispatched. Negotiations attempted. Money offered. Threats whispered. But Matteo kept me hidden in a fortress overlooking the Amalfi coast. "You are no longer a woman," he said one evening as we watched the crimson sunset. "You are a symbol." "And symbols get killed," I replied. He smiled faintly. "Or crowned." 3 months later, my son was born. Strong lungs. Dark eyes. De Luca blood. Romano protection. The birth announcement went not to newspapers, but in gold envelopes to every major family in Italy. War officially began the next morning. 6 months later, Alessandro requested a meeting. Neutral territory. Old cathedral ruins outside Naples. He arrived alone. No guards. No entourage. Just the king who once laughed at my pregnancy. I stepped from Matteo's armored car, my son in my arms. Alessandro's eyes locked on the baby. The resemblance was undeniable. Same jawline. Same dark intensity. Same blood. "You should have told me," he said quietly. "I did," I replied. "You humiliated me. You humiliated me first." Silence stretched between us like a loaded gun. "Call off Romano," Alessandro finally said. "We can fix this." Fix. As if exile was a misunderstanding. "You called my son illegitimate," I said softly. In front of the entire council. His jaw tightened. Politics required it. And now politics require this. Behind me, Romano forces surrounded the ruins. Across the valley, De Luca loyalists positioned themselves. 2 empires balanced on a child's existence. Alessandro looked at his son again. Then something shifted. Regret. Real. Heavy. "What do you want?" he asked. Not commanded. Asked. Power had tilted. I stepped closer. "My son will inherit." Alessandro swallowed. "And you? I will never stand beneath you again." The wind tore through the ruins. Finally, Alessandro dropped to one knee. Not to propose. Not to beg. But to acknowledge. Under old code, kneeling before a dominant heir's mother signified recognition. The king had bent. And the war ended before it truly began. 1 year later, Alessandro remained Don, temporarily. My son would assume full authority at 18. Until then, a council shared power. I was no longer the rejected mistress. I became the guardian of the heir. Untouchable. Unremovable. Unforgettable. Alessandro never publicly apologized. But every decision he made now passed through one silent truth. The baby he denied was the future he could never outrink. Every time he looked at me across the council table, he remembered the night he laughed. Because kings can reject women, but they cannot reject blood. Especially not blood that carries a throne.